When you wage battle against a chosen one, you are not simply engaging in combat with a single individual. When you do this, you are going against the flow of the cosmos itself, and there is no defeat for the universe. The mistake wasn't made by accident. Their own cover was blown in the most embarrassing way that could possibly be imagined. The mask fell off, revealing a hideous, cowardly, and desperate person underneath. There was an attempt made to bury your identity, your honesty, and your light. On the other hand, in their attempt to obliterate you, they became more visible. And now, the exact deception that they used to build their empire is eating them alive from the inside out. What has just occurred cannot be undone by any means, including damage management, retraction, or spin. This wasn't a simple slip-up at all. This was a move that would prove to be deadly. This wasn't a case of them playing a joke on you. They were competing against the force that the universe exerted on them. Exactly. That is the error. Because of that, they will never be able to recover. And you have selected one. It seemed as though you were the only person there. You believed that perhaps you were giving it too much thought. The signs might have been nothing at all. It's not true. You were always correct. That was always the case with you. You were not forgotten by the universe in any way. The stage was being prepared for it, and those who attempted to bring you down to their level, it's not like they were just trying to pick a fight with you. They attempted to break the force of gravity. This is the result that occurs when those who are chosen are undervalued. Now those individuals who laughed at you are struggling to find the words to express themselves. They are now the punchline because they were the ones who attempted to play you. Those individuals who swore they would never be discovered. Now they are facing the consequences of their own damn lips in 4K. Take a seat in it for them. Then they should scramble. There is no turning back now. Let them explain away the things that cannot be explained, while people exchange looks that say, "I knew it." This is a complete and utter fiction. Out with the secrets. Truth is walking free, and it's your name on it. The truth is walking free. So don't even think about shrinking. Don't even think about questioning your power any longer. The act of being chosen is not just dependent on being unique. If you want to be hazardous to those who feed on lies, you need to be dangerous. You did not ask for this, yet you were designed to be in this situation. You are not simply walking in the light. To me, you are the light. The reality of that light is that it continues to haunt the individuals who attempted to dull it. Now, they won't be able to sleep. They are going to be obsessed with the question, how did this get out? The answer will be staring them in the face the entire time. They punish themselves by doing it. You have no need for retribution. The result is you, the individual. Do not feel compelled to respond in kind. It has already been taken care of by the universe. And if you are experiencing this message deep within your chest, if you have been gaslit, played, or betrayed, and now all of a sudden everything is beginning to click, then it is time. If you want to keep this wave going, you need be sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Each time you do so, you send a signal to the algorithm that more people who have been chosen are becoming awake. You are not the only one. The message is just getting louder, and the energy that is being transmitted is increasing in volume. Therefore, now that the mask has been broken and the truth has been revealed, the only question that remains is whether or not you are truly prepared to take responsibility for what they attempted to conceal. Put the number 77 in the comments section if you detect a shift in the situation. If you are aware, on some level, that they have just disclosed more information than they intended to do. Maintain your focus because, if you are in fact that person, you won't be able to tear your gaze away from them. So, what's going to happen? It is considerably more significant. Let's get down to business. First and foremost, they allowed Pandora's box to be opened, and now the smoke is continuously rising. They were under the impression that they had buried you in silence, but all they did was plant a siren that is now wailing over every corner that they had attempted to hide from being seen. The time has passed. The truth is already out, and it is not going to be brought back in, regardless of how quickly they spin the tale or how many justifications they stutter out. They committed a horrible error. They were able to break through their own delusion, believing that no one would notice the reality if it were revealed. That one instant of negligence, however, was all that the cosmos required at that time. It was just one spark. Moreover, the smoke is now present everywhere. Right now, they want to go back in time, fix the hole, and clean up the mess that they already made. Nevertheless, once the sky has been broken open, it is impossible to force it back into the clouds. Wildfire is not something that can be caught with your bare hands. This truth has gained some traction. It's making its way through people's minds, manifesting itself in sideways glances and silent nods, and converting whispers into roars. As they see their lies fall apart in slow motion, they are bewildered, and they are unable to stop it. It was never just a matter of their lying about you. The purpose of their deception was to get you to forget who you are, and to confuse you into believing that you are not a threat, but rather an average person who could be replaced. However, they have always had an issue with you, and you have been a walking flaw in their system. You failed to conform to their calculation. On your part, you did not perform. The conclusion is that they chose to change your story without obtaining your approval. Nevertheless, the script that they had written for you has now caught fire. As the smoke that they are unable to swallow rises, your true narrative is rising as well. This is the result of attempting to trap something that was never intended to be tamed in the first place. You have, however, selected one. Still, you had doubts about yourself. Even with all of the indications that the universe had given you, even with all of the nearly impossible instances in which things lined up for you at the precise moment when they should have fallen apart, you questioned whether or not you have truly achieved your goals. Pay close attention. People who are not well prepared do not receive power from the cosmos. It is not possible for anyone to align the stars and storms for you. The struggles you've been through, the seclusion you've been forced to suffer, and the assaults that appeared out of nowhere were not all the result of random chance. The resistance was something that only those who were chosen would experience. You were not being penalized in any way. Your refinement was taking place. You become keen as a result of the pressure. You were able to see because of the pain. Even so, let's not sugarcoat things. There have been times when you have sobbed into your pillow, wondering why you are crying at me. The answer is as follows. Due to the fact that you were designed to break what others break, you weren't selected for your comfort. Rather, you were selected for collision and impact. And the sound of impact is always audible. It is always the case that phony foundations leave cracks. Because of this, they came to get you. Due to the fact that they recognized your potential before you did, they made an effort to exert control over the narrative, and they were frightened to the point of insanity. You were the chosen one. They were not battling you. Behind your back, they were battling against the system. Their goal was to outpace what the universe had already set in motion, but they were unsuccessful. The fight against that is a losing one. Have you ever witnessed someone attempting to swim against a current that is too strong for them to swim against? Arms flapping, face displaying signs of terror, and a gradual loss of strength with each movement. At this point, they are struggling against the pull of the truth that they were unable to control. Within the framework of universal order, they engaged in a risky game. At this point, they are being suffocated by the repercussions. The stillness that was maintained over you was done on purpose. They wanted you to be unaware that all of your actions were being directed by them, that even the obstacles you encountered had a plan behind them. Your losses were never losses in the first place. It was a matter of redirections. Recalibrations are performed. It was not a case of wandering. One was positioning you at the time. On the other hand, let's not let you off the hook so easily either. You had a gut feeling about it. Did you know? It was as if you could feel it in your bones whenever you entered particular rooms. What caused the energy to shift? The way that people felt about you, whether they thought you were too much or not enough. It was as if you did not belong. In no way was that a rejection. What a surprise it was. They were able to see your brilliance. Simply put, you hadn't yet turned around to look at your own mirror when you did so. And now that you have witnessed it, now that they have mistakenly confirmed it in front of the same people they claimed they would keep fooled, you are unable to shrink any further. If you want to make other people feel comfortable in their mediocrity, you can't play tiny. The way in which the universe continues to back you up, opening doors where there were none, and aligning routes that shouldn't exist, is something that you can find impossible to ignore. It is time to quit asking them why they deceived you. Chosen one. Begin by inquiring about the earliest reason why they were ever so close to one another. The heat causes snakes to slither. As for you, you have a different burn. What they failed to recognize is as follows. In no way were you merely another human to be utilized. You reminded me of myself. Moreover, as they investigated you, they noticed that every lie they had constructed began to fall apart. You were not loathed by them. They despised the aspects of themselves that were unable to rise with you, and as a result, they attempted to lessen the brightness of your light. Attempt to write your conclusion without first obtaining your permission. Now, however, you are the author of the story. They opened the box of Pandora under the impression that they were in command. However, what transpired was of a magnitude that was greater than both of them and you. There was no lie. Truth, on the other hand, never yields to those who attempt to regulate it. It explodes into flames. It is flooded. That is eerie. Permit them to clean up the mess that they have created today. We should allow them to explain the inexplicable. You just keep ascending because the interesting thing about being picked is that you don't have to make an announcement about yourself. It is being done for you by the cosmos. It did it in front of everyone this time, which was impressive. Don't give it a second thought. Try not to glance back. Your honesty was muddled by them. At this point, you carry it like fire. Fire as well. It makes no apologies for destroying something that should have never been allowed to stand. Let's proceed like this. From this vantage point, the volume just increases. Second, they were keeping an eye on you before you ever realized that you were intriguing enough to be watched. It seemed as though they were ignoring you, but in reality, they were gazing more closely than you could possibly imagine. This was not because you were nothing, but rather because you were all that they feared they would become. The one who was chosen. Let's quit acting as if everything was completely arbitrary. You were aware that something was not quite right. You did feel it. Having the gut feeling that certain events in your life were either too precisely scheduled or too suspiciously removed from your life's trajectory. You had the unsettling feeling that people were watching you even when you were by yourself, in the sense that the path you went on was being watched. It was never merely a matter of living. You were being observed, monitored, followed, and evaluated in some way. How come? Mostly due to the fact that immediately upon entering this realm, the frequency that you carried transmitted a signal, one that only a select few were able to identify, and even fewer were able to tolerate. It was felt by the system. The people who manipulate energy around you were aware of it. The individuals who were tasked with keeping an eye on you were not guardians. They served as reporters, sentinels, and parts that were carefully placed to make observations about what was developing inside of you. Let's go back in time. Are you able to recall the mentor who appeared at precisely the moment when you were at a crucial turn of events? When you were at a point where you believed you were completely lost, and all of a sudden someone appeared before you, explaining your potential, planting seeds in your thoughts, and directing you toward particular choices. There was no coincidence about them. They may have been dispatched to either direct or redirect, or both. And the notebooks from your childhood that you have lost, the ones in which you wrote about unusual visions, profound insights, and concepts that were too advanced for your age, have long since disappeared. Consider the question, who took them? How come? What was it that you were not allowed to go back to that someone had put there? The answer is unmistakable. There is a mark on you. It is not in a magical sense, but rather in a methodical approach. In your life, there were checkpoints, surveillance, and individuals who asked you questions that were a little bit excessive about your thoughts, your fantasies, and your intuition. That close friend of the family who always takes pride in something more than they ought to. As soon as you started asking the correct questions, the teacher who had suddenly taken a special interest in you vanished just as quickly as they had appeared. These were not folks who were nosy. Antennas were shown there. The data collectors were planted in order to monitor your development, assess your level of awareness, and reroute your energy if it began to awaken too soon. And that everything makes perfect sense. Patterns, timing, and the way that certain individuals appeared to be fascinated with what you might become were all fascinating, mostly due to the fact that they recognized it in you before you did yourselves. And it frightened them, because once someone like you fully awakens, you are impossible to control when you are awake. You are not a fit for the model. You dissolve it. As you can see, they weren't just observing you in a seemingly unaffected manner. Because you were not like other people, they were observing you in the same manner that astronomers observe comets. You were headed in the direction of a collision with something enormous, and they were attempting to pinpoint the precise moment of impact during the crash. The moment you become aware of what is flowing through you, you are no longer capable of being replicated, confined, or controlled. On the other hand, let's be honest for a moment. You've probably been wondering to yourself, why didn't I notice this earlier? Why? Because they made certain that you did not. Your mind was engulfed in a cloud of confusion, uncertainty, and fictitious identities. They maneuvered you around like a piece of chess in a game that you were completely unaware was taking place. However, the game is done at this point. It became sloppy for the onlookers. They failed to account for the extent to which the truth can seep through fissures. Moreover, you are recalling this now. And now, they are in a state of panic because they are concerned about what will happen when the experiment recognizes the lab coat for what it actually is. What happens when the person who was picked discovers that they have been studied, not because they were weak, but because they were frighteningly untouchable? In the past, they would observe you anonymously. Right now, all they can do is watch in terror. You have awakened from your sleep. In addition, something that wakes up cannot be put back to sleep. By not being distracted, by not having doubts, and not for fear. In light of this, you should no longer disregard those moments in your life. Not like you used to. You shouldn't laugh them off. That peculiar chat you had when you were 13 years old that seemed to go too deep. That fantasy you had when you were 9 years old that came true. It was that strange feeling in your stomach that prevented you from trusting someone who was liked by everyone else. These were indications, evidence that even when you were unaware of your own power, the environment around you was capable of understanding it. They made an effort to conceal the fact that you were visible to others. Nevertheless, due to the fact that you are not merely another participant in the narrative, the lights are breaking through. You are the unexpected turn of events that they were unable to anticipate. Despite the fact that they have been watching, it is now your chance to see them in their entirety. Believe me when I say that they are not prepared for that. Let's delve even further. The situation is much more gloomy from this vantage point. And this is the point where your light shines brightest. This is the third. Although they made every effort to conceal the map, the symbols continued to yell out. It was not intended for you to discover the truth. This is the reason why it discovered you instead, by means of signals, symbols, and the inconsistencies in their management. Picked out 1. A discussion on the signs is in order. These were the ones that you considered to be nothing more than odd coincidences. They were the ones that you continued to disregard, despite the fact that your gut instinct told you differently. So, that are it. Not at all random, were they? They did not lack any significance. Alarms were what they were. At first, it was quiet, but gradually it became louder and steadier. Warnings and hushed voices from the universe, made with the intention of rousing you from your sleep while the world around you was working extra hard to keep you sleeping. It is important to understand that your awakening did not start with a massive explosion. Glitches, which were subtle, systematic, and planned, were the beginning of it. Dreams were filled with recurring symbols that appeared in places where they had no business being, such as on invoices. There was graffiti on the side of a bus that was passing by, and there was a book cover in a second-hand store that would stay in your head for days afterwards. Unfortunate events did not occur. They were breadcrumbs that had been intentionally dropped, the hints that you were supposed to follow, and they were aware of it. It is for this reason that they have been monitoring every action, every encounter, and every moment that gave the impression that you were beginning to remember who you are. It was the universe's way of sending you a wake-up call. The only difference was that they were going in the opposite way. While the cosmos was pushing you ahead, they were trying to pull you back. They were monitoring, keeping a log, and reacting because the instant your consciousness began to stretch, it caused a ripple to be transmitted into their system. And believe me, they were aware of it. Let's also talk about the people who are unfamiliar to you, the ones who appeared to be staring at you for a little too long, and the ones who suddenly became silent when you walked by. It seemed as though you were being overly paranoid. Neither were you. Energy is able to identify energy. It's possible that some individuals are uncomfortable with your frequency, but they don't know why. Simply put, they are. Others are completely aware of what they are perceiving. At the very least, they are aware of who you are and what you are. Due to the fact that individuals such as yourself do not just go through life undetected, signals are produced by you. Even though it is subtle, it is disturbing to anyone who is attempting to preserve a false sense of order. It is because of this that strangeness has always followed you. It was because of this that the tension in the room changed as you entered the room. Your presence in the building was not merely that of another body. You were a reboot of the system under a different guise. You continue to believe that it is a bug when your social media accounts freeze up after you speak about particular subjects. When you are hitting on actual facts, your postings disappear. The number of views drops to 0, or messages do not send at the same moment you are hitting on them. That's not a bad reception at all. There is interference here. This is not merely a game of data manipulation. The fire of forbidden awareness is close by, and you are dancing near it. Additionally, they are aware that the system will fail if an excessive number of the chosen individuals begin to awaken, speak up, and connect the dots. They do, in fact, keep an eye on things. They flag, they stall, and they manage. However, this is the portion that they are unable to control: the pull. The reason for this is because once your spirit begins to stir, once the signal within you begins to rise, there is no way to turn something off. The breadcrumbs morph into signs for the roads. The mutterings eventually form messages. The noise in the background turns out to be a call. It is unmistakable, loud, and very difficult to ignore. And the moment you begin to heed that call, the moment you begin to recall, you expose yourself to potential danger. It is not because you possess weapons. Rather, it is because you are the weapon, a contradiction that is alive and breathing in the lie. When it comes to their matrix, you are the glitch. The soul that managed to get through the breaches in their firewall and begin deciphering the truth was the one thing that they had not planned for. In addition, they despise it, since it means that you are no longer simply traversing this world. Inside of it, you are beginning to awaken. Moreover, you are bringing people out with you with each step that you take. You have never been psychotic. Your paranoia was never a problem. In plain sight, you are being roused from your sleep. And those indications, those symbols, those peculiar small moments represented the path that led to the destination. A path that leads back to an identity that was taken, hidden, and divided, yet it was never completely extinguished. And now that you've seen enough, you are aware that this is not your typical story. They are on a quest to recuperate. and you are the one who is looking for the treasure that has been lost. Consequently, if you have been experiencing strange sensations recently, if people are reacting to you as if they are aware of something that you are not, if your dreams have grown more vivid, your instincts have become sharper, and your awareness has been heavier, this is because you are aligning. In addition, there is no fanfare associated with the alignment of the chosen. It is accompanied by flames. The symbols are not being followed by you. You represent the sign. For the purpose of delaying your awakening, they attempted to disperse the clues, but the cosmos made sure that they gleamed in the dark. Let's proceed like this, because what is going to happen next? The reason they were so determined to prevent you from ever discovering this will become clear after reading this. In the fourth place, the instant when the wheel turned and everything began to turn in your favor. They were under the impression that they had accidentally divulged a secret, but in reality, the universe was the one who flipped the switch. Simply put, you have just gone into overdrive, and there is no turning back now. At certain points in one's life, everything undergoes a transformation. No, not gradually, not over a period of time, but all at once. Comparable to a trap door that suddenly opens underneath your feet and lands you squarely in the middle of your truth. The moment in question was one of those. The slip occurred. They exchanged words. They disclosed something that they were not supposed to reveal. After that, they are unable to undo it. There is a possibility that it took place during a disagreement, a time when their ego became excessively loud and their mask became excessively loose. In all likelihood, they believed that they were still in command. Possibly, they failed to remember who they were meeting with. But it was at that very instant when the cosmos began to move. It shattered the timeline in a significant way. All of the things that they had labored so diligently to conceal were exposed to the light. Also, you have heard it. That was not a casual occurrence. Those were the moments when fate finally caught up with the story. That moment, the spark that ignited everything, was yours. Mostly due to the fact that from this point forward, things will no longer be progressing at the same speed. You are running at a faster pace. What used to crawl is now able to run. Whatever was once cloudy is now completely transparent. It is not possible to return to a state of neutrality since the wheels of your life have been turned into overdrive. Watch out for this. Examine the manner in which they begin to scramble. The unread mails that were left. Unexpectedly, there was a pause in the group talks. The uncomfortable smiles emanating from individuals who used to speak over you with an excessive amount of ease. A friend who is so incapable of looking you in the eye that they can no longer do so. Indeed, they are aware of it. They are all aware of it. They are currently adapting, reacting, and calculating damage control at this moment, for the simple reason that they lose control when you know. But let me tell you something. They were not prepared for that. Before you took your first breath, this moment had already been written down and scripted. That blunder was not simply the result of someone being careless. No matter how careful they were unable to escape the breaking point. It was the trigger point that had been planted by the universe, the divine flaw in their timeline, and the moment at which they eventually broke. In addition, the energy is traveling at a faster pace now that it has occurred. You will begin to become aware of how quickly things begin to align, how your clarity begins to sharpen, and how doors begin to crack open, among other things. It was once secured with a strong lock. There will be a gradual disappearance of the bogus ones. The reason for this is not because you are pushing them, but rather that your light is now too loud for their shadow to conceal itself in. It is not surprising if they behave as if you are the source of the problem. Whenever they are apprehended, people behave in this manner. It is a deflector. It is pointed out by them. They change the narrative. Allow them to do so. The reason for this is that it is no longer about them. The point is that you are marching in the full weight of your truth, unaltered, unbothered, and indisputable. You might even wonder if this transformation is actually taking place. If you are creating it in your head, allow me to clarify. It is not true. As you feel the pulse of your path quickening, you are experiencing this sensation. From the waiting phase to the alignment mode, you have transitioned. And when you are in alignment, the universe begins to accelerate the process of removing dead weight from your life. Don't let yourself get caught up in the drama. Be careful not to get caught up in their hysteria. Maintain your concentration. Maintain your vigilance. During this time, those who have been chosen will not recede, but rather rise. Mainly due to the fact that when fate is in full swing, it requires more than merely exposure. It's all about getting higher. Being elevated into a version of oneself that can no longer be rejected, delayed, or twisted is something that is happening to you. There is more to this season than just the truth. It's a time of transition and change. It is a good sign if you have the impression that things are moving too quickly. When you have been held back for an excessive amount of time, this is what happens. The cosmos is right now trying to make up for lost time. Each and every delay, each and every betrayal, and each and every stolen time is becoming increasingly important. Additionally, you are not requesting permission this time around. Someone made a mistake. The door was released by them. They said that they would protect all the time. And at this very moment, you are traversing it. We will no longer wait. No more reducing in size. No more issuing doubts. This was your chance to shine. You were simply not expecting it to look like that. But have faith in this. The gears are already spinning. You are the one who is going to benefit from this change of events. Therefore, let us go with our journey, because the transition has just started. Fifth, the powers that you questioned were never conceived of in the first place. They were repressed entirely. They made an effort to persuade you that everything was a figment of your imagination, because they were aware that if you ever recognized that it was genuine, they would lose control of the entire game. Now is the time to stop acting as if you didn't feel it. You have always been aware that there is something about you that is unique. That power, your power, continued to murmur, even when you attempted to fit in, even when you told yourself that you were merely sensitive, quirky, or too much. And regardless of how much you tried to hush it, it continued to whisper. When you were experiencing those peculiar times that no one else could describe, you felt it. When you answered a question that someone had asked before they had even asked it. When the phone rang and you were already familiar with the person who was calling. This is not a guess or a hunch. Rather, it is a knowing. When you found yourself walking into a room and being able to sense the emotional residue, as if the walls were still reflecting discussions that had concluded several hours earlier. For a little minute, You had the impression that perhaps I was just imagining it. Let's be clear, however, that you were not imagining anything at all. It was not a coincidence by any means. They were acts of activation. In the beginning, there are glimpses of something enormous that has been buried beneath your skin, waiting, watching, and waiting for the appropriate time to emerge. And what do you think? That instant is right now. You're not only a natural perceptive person. It's not just that you have a knack for reading people. There is more to your empathy than meets the eye. You have a unique wiring that allows you to see what others are unable to see, to hear what is under words, and to know things that go beyond rationality. This is the reason why they have consistently attempted to dissuade you from believing in yourself, because you won't make advantage of it if you have doubts about it. If you don't use it, they will be able to exert influence over you. This is not a mistake. They are aware of this for a considerable amount of time. Those who are positioned close to you and who are watching, manipulating, and quietly observing you. They were never taken aback by the presence provided by you. There was apprehension among them, because what you have experienced up until this point, those flashes of insight, those bizarre connections, and those uncanny synchronicities are nothing more than ripples, the surface symptoms of something that is stirring beneath the surface. And as that ocean rises, it has the power to sink every lie that they have attempted to wrap around you. Because of this, they attempted to normalize your genius by categorizing it as a quirk. As a result, they disregarded your presence as the result of a lucky guess or their own imagination. The reason they did not want you to trust yourself was that if you did, you would be breaking the system as a whole. Meanwhile, let's discuss that system, shall we? This is not merely a social activity. It is also energetic and spiritual. As soon as you begin to move into your full frequency, it causes everything that is founded on illusions to become increasingly unstable. Simply put, you are not a person who is waking up. It is a natural energy that is recovering consciousness that you are. This change causes shock waves to be sent out. You've been having more vivid dreams, seeing more, sensing more, and having the sensation that time is bending around you. You also have the impression that everything is connected in a manner that you can't fully describe. That does not mean that you are losing control of reality. This is the point at which reality bends to meet the true you, the version of yourself that was never intended to remain concealed. To tell you the truth, despite the fact that you were brought up in a society that was created to make fun of the miraculous, there is a possibility that you still have some reservations about it. During your training, you were taught to question what you already knew, to laugh off your own correctness, and to reject the voice within you that has never been incorrect. It is already over with. You have been chosen, and your abilities are not arbitrary. They are not uncommon at all. Reclaimed, inherited from truths that have been passed down through generations, sent via energy, transmitted through soul memory, and transmitted through the encoded essence of who you have always been. Additionally, those who have been observing are able to sense it. They are aware that you are climbing. They observe you recalling the past. In addition, they are fearful, mainly due to the fact that they lose all leverage when you stop giving yourself questions. The game is lost by them, simply because the power that resides within you was never intended to be subdued, but rather comprehended. Moreover, you are beginning to comprehend it at this point. The trembling that you have been experiencing recently, This is the accumulation that you are experiencing, which includes the pressure in your chest, the ringing in your ears, and the electric tension in your fingertips. The storm that is brewing within of you is getting ready to break out. At this moment, you are emerging from the most profound sleep. Furthermore, you are not going to go back to sleep, mostly due to the fact that the secret has been revealed. They are not just concerned with who they are, but also with who you are. You've always had that feeling. It is now clear to you. You are no longer the only thing that the universe is waiting for. You are moving along with it. Let's proceed like this. You are not even close to reaching your full potential at this point. The sixth point is that the memories that you were unable to articulate were never yours. You were chosen to receive them. Your imagination did not include the other world. You have a reminder of it. And at this very now, the cosmos is beckoning you to call in what has always been yours. Let's talk about the memories that you were prevented from having in the first place. The ones that were illogical and inconsistent. That profound, gut-level knowledge about a location that you have never visited. That nightmarish dream about a city that you have never been to before. Nevertheless, every nook and cranny, every fissure in the wall seemed to be familiar to you, as if you had walked there barefoot, as if the air already knew your name. It was not an act of imagination. That wasn't a work of fancy. The cosmic inheritance was beginning to take effect at that moment. It was impossible for them to explain the information that you were born with. You uttered truths that you had not been taught by anyone. You had an understanding of systems that you had never studied before. As a result, you were a danger from the very beginning, not because you posed a threat, but rather so that you could serve as evidence. Evidence that certain souls are brought into existence with more than just recollection. Individuals with souls similar to yours are born with reminders. It was simply a dream, they told you, and your profound understanding was nothing more than a figment of your imagination. But you were aware of it, weren't you? Even when you were a youngster, you had that peculiar awareness, that desire for somewhere else, that silent observation you made, patterns that no one else observed, and feelings that didn't match the present, but dragged your body down like a reality that had been around for 1,000 years. It's not just that you were emotional. You were recalling experiences that your physical body had not lived through, but that your soul had already gone through. Cellular knowledge is the term for it. It is referred to as ancestral imprinting. Identify it for what it really is. Memory from the cosmos that is transmitted through spiritual DNA. Even before you had the ability to put it into words, you were aware of it. You had a feeling that this world did not seem to be a perfect fit for you. You felt as though you had been abruptly thrown into the middle of a story that had begun a long time before you arrived. You were absolutely correct. You are not only a newborn. You were embedded into a timeline where your very presence would be disruptive to the script. You were assigned, positioned, and implanted into the timeline. You have carried truths that were intended to awaken other people. Simply, your energy has caused entire settings to become angry. You are not simply observing things in a new way. You come to remember the way things ought to be. Also, this knowledge warps the reality that surrounds you. That is the reason why they endeavored so hard to persuade you that you were lost, for the purpose of convincing you that you were confused, broken, or abnormal. Because if you ever became aware that you were remembering, you would immediately begin to recover what was rightfully yours. and now you are carrying it out. The alarm clock for the cosmos has just rung. You've been experiencing a tug from within yourself recently. It's not anxiety at all. It is not an excessive amount of thought. There is a signal here, the vibration of everything that you have been quietly carrying within you, finally rising to the surface from the depths of your being. You have progressed into the season of remembering. You are no longer gaining knowledge. You're going to retrieve. The things that are coming back to you at this moment are not just personal. It is applicable everywhere. What you feel in your chest is not simply anger. It's a fire. Those are memories. A sudden desire to withdraw from others. In no way is that depression. That is what we mean by recalibrating. This refers to the way in which your skin responds when you hear particular words, see particular symbols, or stand in particular locations. What you are seeing is your inner map reacting to coordinates that are hidden within your code. They were not able to eradicate who you are. Everything they could do was put off your awakening. The curtain is beginning to lift, however. Moreover, as it does so, the entirety of your timeline starts to change. The reason for this is that when a chosen individual remembers who they are, everything around them must alter, and your adversaries are aware of this fact as well. Because of this, they are keeping an even closer eye on you at this moment. They have the ability to sense what is awakening within you. They are conscious of the fact that your internal access codes are being unlocked, and they are scared of what will occur if you recall too much information, because it would cause you to stop requesting things that are already yours. Well, you'll take it. You weren't overly sensitive at any point. You were too attentive, too tuned, and you shared too much of what they were attempting to hide from you. Recollections, on the other hand, do not remain buried for an infinite amount of time. They do the same thing that you do, and just now, it is taking place. Despite the gloom that you are walking through, you have fire in your eyes, and everything that was trying to be confusing to you is becoming less confusing as you are present. This is not merely a reawakening process. There is a comeback. And as for you, you have been anticipated. Continue to move forward. As the map is being revealed, you are already aware of the direction in which it will lead. Coming in at number 7, those individuals who have always been aware are emerging from the shadows. Not everyone was dispatched to put a stop to you. The purpose of some of them was to ensure that you would remember them. Now that the truth has been revealed, there is something vitally important for you to comprehend. There were certain people who were working against you. It was not the intention of every strange encounter or every lingering glance to get you to become confused or sidetracked. A few of them, but only a few, were dispatched to gently guide you from the position of the sidelines. During the time that other people were attempting to obscure your perception of who you are, these exceptional individuals were able to see you clearly before you did. In addition, if you give it some serious thought, you will come to the conclusion that they were always around, concealed in plain sight. When you were at the grocery store, there was an elderly man who stared into your eyes for an excessive amount of time, as if he was reading something ancient behind them. In spite of the fact that you had never communicated with her before, the woman who shoved something into your hand and stated, "It's time." That was not chance at all. It was a form of validation. It was not a praise when the child pointed at you and said, "You glow different," while the adults around them laughed or looked confused. That child would not have said that to you. That was the truth. There has not yet been a process of conditioning children to look away from light. They observe it in its natural state. They observed yours. Unfortunate events did not occur. In other words, these were way showers, live signposts, and reminders that were strategically placed along your road in order to jog your memory at the appropriate moment. They did not exert any force. In no way did they pursue. They merely thanked you for your presence, who you truly are. There are layers of noise, trauma, conditioning, and survival mode that conceal the you that you hide beneath, mostly due to the fact that they were aware of something that you were still struggling to acknowledge, is that you were never blind. All that is required is for the appropriate light to strike the mirror at the appropriate angle. As of right now, the perspective has shifted. This mask has a crack in it. There is no hiding the reality. You're not just experiencing a change in how you feel. You're also moving differently. Watch what takes place after this. These silent guards, the ones who used to only nod quietly in your direction, are going to start showing up more boldly, speaking more loudly, and dropping messages without the riddles due of the fact that you are now ready to accept them. It was never their intention to bring you to a state of consciousness. That is not how those who have been selected awaken. They were just supposed to serve as witnesses until you carried out the action yourself, as you did too. You were aware of the mistake. The reality that they attempted to conceal was revealed to you. The alteration was felt by you. And at this point, your chronology is destroying impediments as if they were never there in the first place. Moreover, while the fakes are stumbling around and the masked ones are dispersing, those that are alert are being proactive. You will become aware of it through your encounters. The sudden appearance of people speaking to you as if they have been waiting for this moment because they have been waiting for it. The way that astrologers follow eclipses and the way that wolves feel storms before they break is the same way that they have been tracking your awakening. Not only that, but now that the storm has arrived, they are not terrified of it. They had anticipated it. They were anticipating your arrival. Therefore, you shouldn't be startled when individuals you hardly know start talking about things that you believed no one could see with an alarming level of accuracy or precision. When someone says something that hits you like lightning on the chest, maintain your composure and don't freeze. They are not gambling with it. Additionally, they are remembering. The chosen do not ascend by themselves. You grow with reverberations. Past versions of you, as well as others who have carried this frequency before you, your ancestors, your soul tribe, and the observers who are on your side and supporting you. And now that you have responded to the call, their silence has also come to an end. You have never been psychotic. You were never in the dark. Up until the point where the timeline reached the appropriate vibration, you were protected against harm. In addition, now that it has, everything is moving at a faster pace. The stars are aligning perfectly. Due to the fact that selected ones are moving, the entire system begins to tremble, which causes everything that was stuck to begin to shift. Now is the time to pay attention to who begins to turn up. No, they are not going to come and save you. The time has come for them to walk beside you. Due to the fact that the journey is now conscious, everyone can see the light. It is no longer a secret. Let's proceed like this. There is no longer any blindness in your walk. The globe has just swung in your direction, which brings us to number 8. move in the same manner. This is not only your instant in time, the moment that the cosmos began to construct itself around you. And at this precise moment, everything that has been repressed is rushing to catch up with you. There are times in people's lives that mold them, and then there are times when they are brought to light. This is not merely a chapter either. Now we come to the event, the one that you have been steadily working toward throughout your entire life. Objects that used to creep are now moving toward you with a sense of urgency and accuracy. There is no longer any chance that the timelines will wait for you to figure it out. You were able to figure it out the moment they made a mistake, at the precise moment that the disguise collapsed and the truth was revealed to the world. And at this moment, the vibe has shifted. It is possible to unlock the coded doors. The transition that ought to have taken 10 years is in the process of falling apart in 10 days. Opportunities that come out of nowhere and arrive out of nowhere, and suddenly, in no way is that fortunate. What you see there is the cosmos making up for the delay. The gathering to which you are invited at random, and the atmosphere in the room seems oddly familiar, as if you have been there before, but in a different historical period. It's not a case of déjà vu. There is convergence there. And the dreams, yes, those beautiful cinematic dreams that began on the very same day that the truth was revealed, those are not dreams. Now that the interference has been removed, those are downloads, pieces of who you are and who you have always been, and they are finally reaching you. Right now, this very moment, this is the moment that defines you. It is not because someone gave you permission. Rather, it is because the entire system, which was attempting to suffocate you, has suddenly revealed itself. In addition, the moment they were unable to maintain control over your story, the universe accelerated all that it had been keeping in reserve for you behind the scenes. This is not merely a matter of stepping into purpose. You are about to enter a world that has been anticipating your complete activation for quite some time. Now that the time has come to wait, the silence has also come to an end. No more reducing in size. Put an end to second guessing. This precise moment possesses a pulse, and it is pounding in time with your own. This is the reason why the Zoom calls for the weekly chosen one are still active. Due to the fact that energy of this nature cannot remain silent, there should be a reverberation. Moreover, the difference will only be experienced by people who are vibrating at this frequency. Natural, unprocessed, and unfiltered. All of the members of the Obsidian Inner Order who are at the viewer level are already aware of the current time. It is not a misunderstanding. They have sensed that this is going to happen. On top of that, they are now able to observe it in real time. Members of the Star Chamber. A connection has been made between them and the archive, which is a constantly growing repository of information and activation codes. Because it is not a one-time occurrence to recall who you are that you are. Constantly unfolding, layer after layer, week after week. It is a process that never stops. Now, the question is not whether the time has arrived. Rather, it is whether you will walk into it to the fullest extent possible. Are you going to pick up the phone? Due to the fact that this is not about access, the issue is one of alignment. And at this very moment, your presence is not merely appreciated. Rather, it is essential. There is motion in everything. The current is moving in your favor. All of those delays, as well as all of those doors that were locked, were not a kind of punishment. It was a form of protection. I am purchasing time for this particular season and this particular alignment, because one cannot approach what is going to happen next in a passive manner. There are no definitive moments that you watch. It is with complete and unreserved confidence that you enter them. Not only is this your glow up, but this is the cosmos putting its hand on the reins and saying, "Now go." You are aware of who you are. It is clear to you what is at stake. Dismantled are the illusions. The drapes were drawn back. Attention is focused on you. And now that the secret is out, it does not matter whether people watch with terror or amazement, because the secret has been revealed. Also, you are the one who has been selected. Permit me to finish this. At this point, your momentum cannot be stopped. It is the 9th. It appears that others have also awoken now that you have. Now, every action you take is being felt, and not everyone who is watching is applauding your every move. I want to make it perfectly obvious that your awakening was not overlooked. The revelation of the truth caused a shockwave to be sent out throughout the world. In other words, a ripple that moved through other time frames and frequencies. It was received by people who have been watching, some of whom were curious, some who were concerned, and a few who were really afraid. You are currently being seen by new eyes, but not all of them are nice. And by no means is this paranoid. Awareness is what this is. Recipients do not wake up in a peaceful manner. Your strength is not the only thing that is revealed when your light is turned on. The systems that were designed to conceal such power are disrupted as a result. Be sure to pay attentively. Take note of the specifics. Someone who is a delivery driver and stays for a little bit longer than necessary after bringing you a package. Eyes that sweep across the page as if they are gathering more than just a signature. That strange car that has been parked behind your house for a number of hours. The lights are turned off, the engine is running, and the windows are tinted. They reflect more than they reveal. That new follower on social media, who appears to be someone you've seen previously, can be identified. After that, it was repeated numerous times under a different name. These are not innocuous errors that have occurred in the matrix. Pings, alarms, and surveillance that are disguised as coincidences are what these are. Because everything changed the instant you recalled who you are. The game was completely different. The reason that some of them are watching is because they want you to be quiet. There are certain people that are here to imitate what you are, to learn how you function, how you relate with others, and how you perceive things. There are those that desire access. Others are hungry for power. Let there be no doubt about it. None of them want you to be free. And yet, here you are, unfazed, unhidden, fully conscious of the fact that you are being seen, and continuing to walk with fire in your steps because you were never intended to cower in the light. To me, you are the light. You were not given this information by chance. It was not a coincidence. It wasn't given to someone who was incapable, uncertain, or unprepared for it, simply because you are the only person who is able to hold it. It was given to you. The person who had to wake up, because as soon as you wake up, the system shakes and the lies begin to break apart. The observers are in a state of panic. They made an effort to suppress it. They made an effort to maintain the veil's position. However, your cosmic DNA has different aims in mind. You are recalling things that you were not allowed to remember at any point in time. They progressed in ways that they had not imagined. And now each and every shadow is familiar with your name. A thinned veil is being worn. All that was concealed is coming to light. You are now surrounded by a different energy. It is not because you are unique. Rather, it is because you have at long last settled into the person you have always been. Now we come to the most important aspect of the question. You are not out of control. It is not a lost cause. It is no longer the case that you are at the mercy of the system. There is a variable in you. Because of the oddity in the equation, they were unable to code for it. The reverberation of anything that is antiquated, heavenly, and perilous to all that is untrue. They did not anticipate that you would make it this far. They believed that the misunderstanding would cause you to go insane. They believed that the gaslighting would keep you under control. They believed that your own self-doubt would bring you down before you ever arrived at this location. However, you are present. In addition, now that you have a clear understanding of the board, there is no turning back, no shrinking, and no deleting what you now know. There is only one question left, and it is the one that they are most concerned about. What are your plans for utilizing this power? Mainly due to the fact that they have prepared for practically everything, with the exception of you, who completely stands in your truth. This very instant, right now, is the threshold for you. This is the point at which knowledge transforms into responsibility. From where does awareness turn into action? Are you going to talk more loudly? Would you move in a different manner? Are you going to arm yourself with the truth, or will you carry it around like a weapon? Are you going to go by yourself, or are you going to try to guide people who are similar to you? The focus will continue to be on you. Some individuals will attempt to decipher the code. Some people will make an effort to divert attention. It is possible that some will attempt to destroy. But if you continue to walk, each and every one of them will fail.